That is great.
Well, Dennis, is it an hour of happy for you? Because I'm feeling pretty happy.
Suddenly.
Like, it wasn't, and then
loud.
It
is. It's the first time I've laughed out loud all day. Not for a second, not for a minute, certainly not for an hour.
Well,
no.
Let's get this hour started.
No. Well,
bruh.
We already did. Yeah. Bruh. Another day in COVID reality. First day of the Republican convention.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump's sister is interviewed without her knowledge and says, of course, Trump, he has no principles. None.
Right.
All he does is lie. And this is coming out the day of the opening. Good timing. But they don't care.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, and whose mind is that going to change?
Nobody. And the thing is that it's never been clear to me that he's doing nothing more complicated than creating the Trump party. And what's interesting about recent events is that it seems to have moved from him being a Confederate president to him actually being the head of a cult.
Yeah.
Which his inability to simply say, oh, QAnon? No, I denounce that crazy stuff. What? You mean just because they say that politicians, Democrats in particular, are murdering and eating children, and the code for the cult is done through the creative use of pizza? You and I, in our wildest imagination, anyone we know, could never make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Isaac Asimov wouldn't be able to make this stuff up. Kurt Vonnegut, it would be beyond his ability to make that up.
Right.
Because it's not just stupid, but it's also so fucking important that the stupid doesn't cover it. It's moved into a
recklessly stupid
Quantro 4 times XYZ.
Holy
it's like
crap.
whatever, this shit is to the earth. This shit is to the political spectrum. This shit going on is to little political spectrum as Earth is to the rest of the galaxy. Because this shit goes beyond the pale. This is, as Obama says, it's a threat of democracy. It's happening in front of us. And the fact is, he's got an armed group of men and women who are ready to rally for him. All he has to do is say the word, which he will. He will start the Trump party. He's going to start her with 34% of the voting public. Maybe minus a few and maybe added a few. That's all this is about. He no longer thinks that it's even desirable to win. Winning would be more of the same terrible life that he's led.
Yeah.
He's hated it. And he just wants to do what he does. He wants the circus tent set up.
Wants to be
He wants to bark. Hi-ya, hi-ya, hi-ya. If you've never seen a bearded lady, you got to come over here quick. Hey, Sonny, is that a quarter in your pocket?
Just happy to see me.
It's is that a cucumber in your pocket? You're just happy to see me. Oh, God.
Yeah,
His sister.
Hold on. I saw a report today that said 57% of Republicans think the number of U.S. deaths from coronavirus has been acceptable. Like, there's nothing we could do.
The asterisk. Yeah, there's an end note. And the end note says, based on a review of demographic data of deaths, including but not limited to the number of the people dying who actually were Democratic voters. If one assumes that urban voters and black voters are Democratic, which is historically accurate, then these numbers are evident that COVID has ended up reducing the population of the Democrats by vastly greater numbers than that of Republican voters.
Well, then it's okay.
Make your own decision as to whether or not that means anything, but they have the data. They have 3,000 data points reportedly on every single voter in the country. 3,000. Could you describe 3,000 things about yourself?
Well, that's why I started the podcast.
Number one, we're going to count down to 3,000. Okay, number one, go. Age, number two, go.
I'm a male.
Sex, number three, go. 3,000.
I'm bored.
At what point do you start to run out?
Yeah.
At what point do you start to run out?
Yeah, but, I mean, Facebook has that on people. Easy.
Sure.
I just saw a bit of a documentary over the weekend. This podcaster, radio person that I really love from WNYC, Latif Naser, got his own Netflix show called Connected. And much like they do on their podcast Radio Lab, they go through and they just do some scientific research and they drill down and they see how things are related. And anyway, it's a documentary series. I've only seen the first one, but the first one was about surveillance. And it started off with just the most mind-blowing damn thing. So it started off with tracking of migratory birds, okay? And it's about how there's this type of bird that lives in, I want to say Vermont for most of the year, and then travels down, like it breeds and has babies in Vermont, and then travels down to Brazil to, I don't know, some other part of its
for the Mardi Gras?
Yeah.
For the Mardi Gras?
So it does this.
And do they look alike?
It does this every single year.
Birds all are the same?
Yeah.
Birds all look alike because birds of a feather fly together.
Yeah, right, I understand. But so that's
where that comes from.
Yes. And there's lots of feathers down there for Mardi Gras, for Carnival. So
the costumes.
Yes.
Right.
So anyway, these birds, they put these, they catch them in this net, and they put these little tracking little backpacks on them, so they can still fly, but there's a little GPS tracker on their back. And they did this for a bunch of birds, and so then they can tell, you know how GPS is with your phone, they can pretty much tell which tree the bird is sitting in at any given time. And so anyway, that's people have been doing that for years. But the crazy thing is that they discovered that these birds sometimes they will stay longer in the spring, and then, which is better time because they have more time to care for their young before they leave to go to South America. And other times they leave earlier. And scientists couldn't figure out why they left earlier or why they would leave later. And they looked at all of the different possible, weather phenomena or predators or something, and they couldn't figure out why. And then this one scientist noticed that on the years when the birds left earlier, around the time in September when they were crossing the Gulf of Mexico, when the birds left earlier, there were more hurricanes. And on a year with fewer hurricanes, the birds stayed longer and then left later. Which means that the motherfucking birds in March knew whether or not there would be a lot of bad hurricanes in September.
Well, no, I think it says that they caused it. Their collective thought was, if we all think this together,
right,
and we stay here and we think hard about this, it will come to pass. And that's all done through the queen, splendidly feathered leader of the birds, who sits upon a thatch throne, which is made of pieces of stick and stuff that they took near the exhaust where my dryer blows into the grass, and pieces of net, and perhaps a plastic bag or two, and they create the throne, and this is what she declares. This is an edict. This year shall pass.
Bird queen.
Hurricane will be 10 or 8. They all collectively think. You know what it sounds like when a bird thinks? That's what it sounds like when a bird thinks. Well, have you ever heard that sound?
Don't tell them.
You want to hear it again?
Wait, are you communicating now to the bird mother?
If she's here in my pocket, and it's not, and she is glad to see me, and let's not go there. But
you're wrestling with something.
You've hit on something here. It's a whole nother world.
It's like
the bird people.
What the fucking bird people, man? So anyway,
and you know how, and you know what that? It's not only the sound of their thinking, but it's also the sound of their praying, and that's why they're sometimes called birds of prey.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Their mantra is that the queen says, "Birds of a feather," and all the multitudes reply, "Stay together," and then louder, and then louder.
They don't flock together; they stay together.
Stay together.
Okay. Well, that's a
wow.
It's like
cool.
What?
You've unearthed it.
What the what? Yeah. So that's pretty birdie. Wow. Who's a pretty birdie? Yes, you are. The queen bird mother does not like the dead parrot sketch. It's so offensive.
Wow, my computer is so hot.
Tell me about it.
On the bottom of it. Should I put it up higher? Get some air under there?
Mine is off the desk, and last week I had a moment when
in a stand?
Yeah. And last week I had a moment when it ceased to function because it was just so freaking hot. So
yeah, you told me it was over 110 or 105 or so in Death Valley it was 130.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard that.
I told you it was in Phoenix. It was 124. You could fry an egg.
somebody told me that the parks officials were upset and informing people, please don't try to fry eggs because that just means we have to come and clean them up.
Yes.
Like it's littering.
Yes, I heard that, sir. Yes.
So
literally.
Literally.
Get it? See what I did there?
Yes. They don't want to egg you on.
The eggs were litter.
Yes.
And they were literal. And the guy's name who picked them up was Danny Lee, the famous golfer. Yeah. So.
That's a good yoke.
They were. The yoke is on you.
Egg on your face.
Oh, what a heavy yoke they must bear on our behalf. So did you see in the PGA, the TPC North, the caddy had to be carried off?
No.
But,
I'm not following golf news.
So Scott Scheffler, who is playing quite well, came in the top 10 for this tournament. His caddy came up lame and fell down. Well, kind of sat down because he couldn't walk.
Don't you have to shoot the caddy when that happens?
Oh, man, I thought you said you didn't see it.
Sorry. Continue.
Man, I was stealing my thunder. Everybody's probably seen it. Yeah. It was hard to believe, but then again, it's COVID-19 reality.
Can't carry the bag?
But you know who replaced him?
What?
Was the assistant golf pro from the course. Add one, Scheffler, right? That's some good caddying of the guy who works the course full time.
Yeah, that's...
Big time.
How fair is that?
The rules indicate not only that it has to be a replacement, but it has to happen in a certain period of time, I'm sure, or he's got to carry his own bags. I mean...
No, but like to get the guy who knows the course like the palm of his hand to be your caddy seems a little bit...
Oh, yes, indeed. But also hole number 15 or 16 probably. And at the hole where he was still on the ground waiting to be carted off, Scheffler had a makeable birdie putt and missed it and then dropped in for par. And no one is going to suspect for a moment that what had happened didn't have something to do. It was a little bit of a distraction. Now, on the other hand, his caddy is pretty much irreplaceable because unlike the assistant pro, he doesn't know Scheffler at all.
Right.
Doesn't know his swing, doesn't know his clubs.
True. It's more important to know the golfer than the course.
Doesn't know how to talk to him.
Yeah.
Doesn't know when to say shit. Doesn't know, that's like...
Yeah, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, this is 140 yards, and it's another thing to say this is an 82% of your 9-iron or whatever.
Did you hear the latest DeChambeau comment to the so-called crowd? Right, there's nobody there, and 50 feet away there was a film crew, and while he was putting, someone spoke, and he looked up after the putt. He missed it. And he looked up after the putt, and he said, we're going to have to be a little quieter, and he looked at him and he said, sound travels.
You mind talking a little quieter over there, please? I can hear you all the way over there. Sound travels.
How would you like to be his caddy in an emergency?
Yeah.
When and how would you talk to him? At point, right? Scheffler's the nicest guy in the world, probably, as far as I know. But holy shit. It was interesting, you may would follow it, but I'll just say this and then close on it. Check it out because Dustin Johnson beat the field by 30. He's tied for the second most points under par, winning a major, tied with Spieth, and only beat by Ernie Els, who did it by 31. And he closed, if I'm correct, I don't think he closed with an eagle. He might have. It's astounding. It's astounding. It's some of the best golf I've ever seen played by anybody. Anybody.
Well, it's true we don't play that often together. So
speaking of that, a nice clip of Rory and Tiger having a burger at a picnic table after their round, and for the first time ever, they didn't have to worry about the crowds. There was nobody around. They just sat and had a burger. And the name of it is, the name of the article something like, it's the same as what we do. Right? They went to the 19th hole and just talked and talked.
Sitting around with a burger.
A couple of burgers. But it's so delightful to be able to watch it again.
Some of the other sports are coming back, but...
They canceled college football in the Big Ten. So we're done with some of the most exciting. I'm fanatical about college football. This is just another reality. I can't say that I'm, super bummed because I knew it would likely happen and it should. So with that, you just say, oh, well, so it is. We're just hoping for a basketball season.
Yeah, we're approaching school start time here. And
they started today here.
And I'm very conflicted. Like, I think that they're going to have to cancel again in a couple weeks. And
that's what it's happening everywhere.
And so, right, exactly. Like, so we're not going into this with no.
Some kids have to get sick, and maybe some people have to die before they decide that there needs to be a change of policy, and that number of sicknesses and deaths is acceptable for them.
Right. And so, like, knowing that, because I see in other places where the same thing is happening, knowing that, I might just skip over that part where I put my children and my family at risk and just not send them for the first couple of weeks. And if someone complains to me, then,
let's talk.
Good luck.
So there's a video clip that my wife sent me, and I wish I could tell you more about it, but it was about a guy speaking in front of a state capitol building, and the name of it was something like Unanswered Questions About Kids Going Back to School During COVID-19. And this guy looks at the camera and for 15 minutes, or whatever the time is, don't quote me on that, does nothing but ask question after question after question after question after question. And it is so stunningly apparent that nobody knows the answer to nearly all of them, more now than when they saw it. But it would give you some insight into what others have put together as a longer list than what you might be able to come up with on your own, and also verbalizing it, recording it, so you can just say all those questions. Yeah, answer those.
Me too.
Then I'll get back with you.
I articulate too. Yeah.
I love collage. So see that T-shirt?
You've mentioned it a couple times.
Wearing a woman.
I had a good time in collage.
So here's another interesting little news bit today. So a little bit of background, which I'm sure everyone probably does, is that every year, one of the major purposes of the annual Democrat and Republican conventions is to adopt their policy platform for the next political year that their candidates are going to run on. The Democratic platform is multifaceted, very well thought through, responds to the realities of our time, vis-a-vis police budgeting, civil unrest, civil rights, racial disparity, criminal justice reform, economic recovery, resocialization in a new world, et cetera, et cetera. Climate change, climate change, climate change. It is a robust document with many verses and chapters. The Republican Party, for the first time in their history, have instead issued not a platform, but instead a policy statement which supports all of, but nothing more than, the policies of Donald J. Trump and the Trump administration without specification, and says that the next time there will be a discussion of Republican Party policy will be at the next convention in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Kim Jong-Trump.
Yep.
No longer just a Confederate president, but now a cult leader who never shit in his life, like his brother, his lover, Kim Jong-un, who's reportedly in a coma.
Yeah, Fox News is reporting that. I haven't seen any other sources.
I've seen it. Well, The Guardian, I think, reported it too, but who knows? They reported it as almost like hearsay, right? I mean, it was sort of like,
it's the way Trump says.
This is what we heard.
It's the way Trump says
this
things
is
like
what we heard.
People are saying, and then you ask who, and they're like, it's just, this is what people are saying.
Me, Donald J. Trump.
No, he never says that. Yeah, well, so this
no platform.
This CBS News poll that I mentioned briefly before, one of the questions is to Republican registered voters, why is America better off than 4 years ago? There are 4 answers. Number 1, 82% confidence in Donald Trump. Check 1 for the cult. Number 2, 70% the U.S. economy. What economy are they living in?
Can I make a point here? Fact.
You there.
If you compare the 36 last months of the Obama-Biden time in office to the first 36 months, you'll see that Trump created 850,000 jobs, while Obama-Biden created 1.5 million. Other indicators show similar statistics. So we have to, in fact, given that this is common knowledge, easy to understand knowledge, score 2 points for the cult. Why do they believe that? And the answer is see number 1.
Right. Exactly.
Because he said so.
Yeah, because
That's
he said
cult.
so. Yes.
Number 2. Go on.
So
God damn it.
the tied for second is the third one, also at 70%. Democrats are not in power. That's the reason why America is better now than before. I think that's another check for the cult. Yeah.
You made it a question. It's not a question.
No, it's not. So, okay. I mean, I think that also could mean some of those people are saying that, meaning there's no longer a black family in the White House. Just imagining. But
yeah, well, it also, from a cult perspective, though, is
they are not in power. Right. They are not in power. Yep.
We're in charge. Look, wait a minute. This is my deal, Wade.
And the fourth one is even crazier. Own families' finances. That's 64%. 64% of registered Republican voters claim that their own families' finances are better off than they were 4 years ago. That is
how many?
64%. So that is just blatantly ignoring the truth. I mean, it must be, because these aren't people that are all, in the top 1% that are getting super rich.
So what did that tell you about the demographics of the polled population? Let me
either
ask you this.
they're liars or
let me pose the circumstance to you. Let's say that this was middle class and beyond,
right.
Middle class, upper class demographic, and that, as it turns out, about 64% of those people have investments of some kind in the stock market.
Right.
That would explain it. Because the one economic indicator, which is one of many,
right,
which is not an indicator, as Trump claims, of the economy,
right,
which the GP is down demonstrably. The number of jobs lost is so far outstrips the number of jobs gained back that we continue to be 62% of the jobs that are lost are still lost. He can say what he wants.
Right.
But at the end of the day, things are not better. And the fact of the matter is, you and I know this is repetitious, redundant to what we say again and again. None of this matters to anybody but the base. He could care less about converting anybody else. Imagine this. Somebody said to Trump, the largest percentage of the voting public that's ever identified, altogether in third parties, altogether, add them all up, is 16%.
Wow.
And I'm making this up. It's just a wild-ass guess. You can look it up if you want. But,
I believe it.
So what is success? Well, more than that, one would argue, but all in one party. And if someone would say, well, what if you would double it, 15% to 30%, and you create the Trump party, and then the Jeb Bushes, the Bush brothers, the Bush families, right? The other Republican leaders of leaders past, George Will, and other notorious conservative thinkers will reform the Republican Party and try to bring it back, and it will suffer for at least the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 election cycles, because the Trump party will take away a majority of votes from the Republicans, not the Democrats.
Yeah, okay.
So much like
so the Trump party
ruled for 100 years, the Democrats will be in power.
Okay, but so the Trump party, you're assuming that Donald continues to live and be...
Yes, for at least another year.
Okay, but...
Then after that, Donald Jr. will take over. He's been primed and is nearly ready to do so. You can Google an article today that says Donald Trump Jr. He appears to be ready, but ready for what?
I mean, he's got to. There's some big shoes and long ties to fit into. It like there's some long ties and some long lies.
Eric Trump decided that instead of just the signature tie, which he wears a little lower, but not as low as his father, that instead he did it with his shoelaces. And he's constantly tripping and landing into podiums and microphones and et cetera. It's a horror show. It's a horror show, I tell you.
Well, like, it's because Trump's skills, he's got a very particular set of skills. I just edited our episode about Liam Neeson movies, and I don't think anyone else could really do what he does in that way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
yeah.
Maybe your Rush Limbaughs or your other knucklehead liar people can also do that, but he's just a unique snowflake.
Well, so imagine this, that the first Trump movie is being shot now. And it's a 2-episode series called The Comey Effect. And Comey is played by none other than Michigan's Jeff Daniels. And Trump is played by an amazing actor who you'll know very fondly from Gangs of New York, who played the sheriff.
Never saw that.
Oh, that's too bad. Now you won't understand the story because you still haven't seen one of the most iconic fucking movies of your generation. You're so fucking lazy. What do you do with all your time?
Scorsese.
Nothing.
I did watch a movie since we've spoken. It's a movie written and directed by Jon Stewart.
Starring none other than Steve
Carell. Yes.
Carell. I've been meaning to see it, but it's on Netflix, so I don't.
No, it isn't on Netflix.
Oh, it's on.
It's on
Disney or.
Is the link not here? It's called Irresistible.
Yes.
And
I saw the trailer.
It's such a clever. I mean, it's not going to win a Best Movie Oscar. It's not that level, but it's this idea of the coastal liberal elites going in to meddle with the heartland elections in a way that's pretty well done. It took me two nights to watch it, and I enjoyed it. It was good. Steve Carell, of course, is just awesome, and all the other performances were great.
I think he's basically good in everything I've ever seen. And I can't tell you that I'm not surprised every time I see him in something different, that I just say, son of a bitch, he's good. I'm always he pushes it. Did you see The Murder of Jesse James by the coward John Ford? That was your homework.
No,
you did it.
I have it. I have it in the queue. It is in the queue.
It's in the queue.
But
it's in the queue.
Turns out
and remember,
it's in the QAnon.
Remember that the discussion was not only about Casey Affleck.
Yes.
And the way that he portrays and channels the people that he's acting, of course, which is, I'm sure, every actor's goal. But in fact, that it was a discussion of how he can underplay a role with more dramatic effect than anyone could imagine. Your other in the queue homework was to see Manchester by the Sea, probably also, which you didn't do.
I think I've seen it and we've discussed it.
I remember now. It's all coming back to me.
I did just edit the episode where we put it into my homework.
Where we talked about how quickly we forget. But the point here is that, in this case, this is Brad Pitt in the most exquisite underplayed role of his movie fucking career.
You were pretty...
Including but not limited to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You were very bullish on him.
Which also has been remarked upon as an underplayed study in character.
Well, now I have my
glimpses of character by physical presence and human interaction, and nothing more. Just at the very fucking essence of acting.
Yeah. Sort of like podcasting.
And goddamn, he looks good in a long black coat with a white shirt and a fancy tie and a pair of black jeans and a pair of cowboy boots.
Brad Pitt, attractive? Yeah, Brad Pitt's a good-looking feller.
Yeah, I'm going to dress up like that after we're done.
Yeah? Well.
Yeah, I got a hat. Maybe I'll show you before the end of the episode, but...
Hey, speaking of follow-up, you just looked over your shoulder.
Speaking of ends of the episode, see ya.
How is your bee problem?
Cured, I say. So, climbed up on the ladder.
Be cured.
Caulk.
Yeah.
Caulk gun. It's called concrete caulk.
I think
it comes in a little tub. And I put a dollop on my finger, climbed up the second-story ladder, and in the little hole where the Wi-Fi wire was, I filled it full of concrete and sealed it up and then smoothed it over. Left the ladder up, went to sleep, woke up 24 hours later, give or take an hour or two, climbed up the ladder with a paintbrush that had a little daub of gray house paint on it, and I matched it. And then 24 hours later, washed the area and also of the powder that they had injected into it. It was all over the walls, all over the windowsills, and then washed the windows, took the ladder down, and went out that day in the heat of the sun and looked up, and I saw at 2 different times, a wasp buzzing,
Trying to get in.
looking for the hole, landing where the paint is, looking, walking around the windowsill, trying to find another entrance. My observation was pointed. Will this wasp indeed find another way to get into my fucking house? Does it climb up and go to the downspout? Does it go near the eaves trough, the gutter? Does it go underneath only to disappear? No. What does it do? Moments later, it flies away into the breeze to another location.
Your neighbor's
A
house.
couple minutes later, another one comes. Same exact result. I say to you,
You sure it
I
wasn't the
say
same
to
one?
you, my bee problem is solved. Hallelujah. $100, and the Play-Doh is still there, drying out. And when it dries completely, I'll remove it from the holes and crevices, and I will once again regain the total use of my home. Because as I say unto ye, my bee problem is solved. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Raise your hand.
Woo!
Raise your hand.
A concrete cock. All right.
What do you say to that? Does that answer your question? Part 2. Furthermore, I've not vacuumed up or seen a wasp anywhere out here. I did see one in my son's yard, and I crushed it with my foot. It gave me great satisfaction. Pieces of wasp ground into the dirt, yellow mixed with brown earth.
Okay. This endeth our extermination segment of the program.
I hate those motherfuckers,
I can tell.
fucking wasps. Well, I suppose you don't. You like them? You make pets out of them? Bring them into your bedroom, put them in a little nest of some kind of little... You know what they like is a little pipe. Put a little pipe there, they'll go into the pipe and
They
live in
smoke
the
it?
pipe. Good thinking, though, because here's another way. What I could have done? I could have not... Before I put that Play-Doh on the windows to block up those holes, I could have taken some marijuana smoke and blew it in there. And what that would have done would have lulled the wasps into just wanting to relax
Gotta get the munchies.
and not buzz around so much. And they're like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to go to work.
Why all the buzzing, man? It's just like
It's a day off.
we buzz
Let me
around.
tell you what, because we can, and B, because I'm a bee. B is because I'm a bee. C is, see, I told you, motherfucker, I'm a bee.
All right. Them's 3 good reasons.
D, don't dog me, I'm a bee. Can't you see?
Well, good for you.
So here's a well, never mind. Hotter than hell here. 91 today. We took a drive to Lake Michigan Sunday, the 3 of us, wife, sister-in-law, and took the walk 2 miles in, 2 miles out. Went to the ship called the Idler,
Yes,
which we've spoken of.
I looked that up
And
the
once
other day.
again,
The Bloody
had a
Mary.
questionable Bloody Mary and a motherfucking bad meal. I'm done there. This is for anyone who listens. Let me tell you this. You got a limited menu,
Come
but
bucket.
you're open
Yep.
all the time. You have a bar, one bar in the place, and you have a kitchen on deck. What do you think it takes to say we have a restricted menu, we have 2 Bloody Mary specials, one is cucumber-infused vodka, and the other is thyme, basil, salt, and something or other infused vodka. Those are 2. And when you order the second one, they say, well, actually, we don't have any of that. And it's a Sunday, one of the busiest days of the week on the ship. How about this? Yeah, throw some extra olives in the Bloody Mary. Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of olives. And the response would be, what? Any of you who knew this didn't simply stop at a grocery store and buy a couple bottle of olives?
Maybe
for
tomorrow I'll
today?
buy some. Yeah.
Because you know that your specials include green olives, but you don't take any personal responsibility for this, as if you wouldn't even be reimbursed? Or here's a better question: who the fuck is in charge of the motherfucking olives? Wouldn't it be the head bartender?
He's an
Wouldn't
olive
it be the
coordinator.
manager's job to make sure that the bartender has a fully stocked bar in enough quantity of what are called specials
An olive officer.
to be able to serve the what are called specials? Or is my theory correct that they're not special,
Hey, these
They're
specials aren't
subpar.
special.
they're subpar? That's what they should be called on the handout, mimeograph special menu that they send. Instead of saying specials, it would say subpar options.
Yeah. Yeah, so you sit
Bloody
down
Mary with no condiments.
and you ask your waiter, yes, could you tell me about the subpar options available today? Then they could go and read off the list. Yeah, so
Right.
when you mention them,
No, and all they do is they read what they don't have. They say, well, it's vodka, but we don't have it infused, and we don't have any seasoning, and we don't have any olives, we don't have any pickles, we don't have any pickled okra, we don't have any small onions, we don't have any pickled beans, we don't have any tiny little small ears of corn, we don't have any black olives, we don't have any horseradish, we don't have any Worcestershire sauce, we don't have any seasoned salt, we don't have any ground black pepper, we don't have any shrimp, and we don't have any motherfucking bacon to stick into your motherfucking Bloody Mary. That's what we don't have. You want one? Yeah, well, yeah, I'll take it.
Vodka.
That's what I came here for. I'll take one. I'm done.
So when
Cucumber
you mentioned this
the idler.
a couple episodes ago, I went and I looked up their menu, and the very first thing on their drink menu is called S.H.I.T. It's South Haven iced tea. S.H.I.T.
Is it? It doesn't reference that in the menu, of course.
Does it? On the PDF of the menu, it says S.H.I.T. Classic South Haven iced tea.
I don't remember that being on the printed menu. That's
and then they do have the chum bucket that you complained about last time,
which is so disgusting in its name. They obviously, this is a fucking ship. Who doesn't know that a fucking chum bucket is the fucking scrap and bloody fucking fins,
worst possible,
and motherfucking tails and gills and fucking catfish whiskers and fucking guts of fish that you throw out the back of your boat as chum to attract schools of fish, who then, after you throw the chum out, you go ahead and throw your bait out.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. Did I say that?
It's like calling your chocolate dessert a manure pile or some other beverage a pus bucket or something. It's just like, what? No, marketing, bad marketing.
Right. It's the pus rag. Or drink, the pus rag. It's kind of a white frothy drink with a shot of yellow lemon right in the middle of it. The pus rag.
It's their bestseller.
The open wound. A Bloody Mary with a white foam cap on it, squirted with ketchup. The open wound.
Yeah.
And after it's served, let it sit a while until the flies come around. Parentheses. Maggots not included. Although if you return in 30 days, we'll see what we can do.
And the missus would like a barf bag. It's another beverage.
Right. Barf bag. Your drink comes in a plastic bag that has two sides to it. A side for the drink and a side where you puke after you drink it because it's so fucking disgusting.
Well, see, the barf bag would actually have some condiments in it, like some peas or something.
Oh, peas. Peas would digest easily.
Little chunks of something.
Let's see. What doesn't digest well? Pomegranate seed.
Yes.
Eat a pomegranate, you're going to shit the seed.
There you go.
Turn black, bilious.
Well, hold on. I was talking about not going all the way through the system, but...
Right. Right. How about calling it snake eats frog? No, snake eats tied frog. And it gives an image of, and the icon, the little logo for the drink is a snake tied to a stake and then a frog tied to a stake. And the length of the stake ties are just enough that the frog goes halfway into the snake's gullet and then it stops. Becomes an experiment.
Hey, well,
I hope you did that, right?
I hope our listeners are not eating.
The frog that's half of it's completely digested and the other half isn't yet.
I've not done that.
Oh, your wife has.
Probably. She's a sicko. Yeah.
Well, she's a sicko. No. She's a vegetarian. That's what they do for a living.
Something like that. Yeah, so looking at the bar here on the top of the idler boat.
It's really pretty out there. You can talk to fishermen as they go by.
Do they like that?
They'll hold up their catch. Saw about a 16-pound salmon. Did I miss something? No. I must have. You could be like, you could say, "Hey, fisherman, you need some chum?" No, you yell out. You say, "Hey, chum," and they say, "Don't you dare fucking call me that. That's gross."
There you go.
Hey, you want to get chummy with the guy? Well, what's that mean? That means climbing down into a fucking bucket of fucking fish remains. That's where that comes from. That's what they used to do. Hey, are you a buddy? Yeah? All right, we'll prove it. Climb down in this fucking big bucket of fucking chum. Prove you're my friend. Gross. That's where that comes from. England, on the coast coast of England. Of course, all of England, including Scotland, is nothing but coast since it's
Yes.
a motherfucking island.
Indeed.
You know, indeed.
Are you aware of the math problem about I think it's called the coast of Scotland, where and this relates to all kinds of basically measurement of anything, that like if you want to measure how many miles the coast of Scotland is, like you can do that, but it depends on how long your yardstick is, right? Because it's so craggly that if you use a shorter yardstick, it's going to turn out to look like it's double the length than if you had just used a bigger one. And so
average.
But that's sort of a phenomenon that the closer you look, the data that you're looking at can change, because if you're measuring with a smaller measurement, then you're going to get widely
familiar
different.
with it. It's called the degree of granularity.
There you go. That's another term for it.
To sum it up.
Degree of granularity.
Is that what you're looking for? Is that what you're searching for? The degree of granularity.
That's also related to how well you can digest a piece of corn or something. Is
right.
The degree of granularity.
So what's the biggest thing you've ever swallowed that you end up shitting out later?
Personal question that I have noticed.
Of many experiences.
It's got to just be corn kernels that I've noticed in the toilet. But like, I haven't swallowed any marbles or anything of value, like a gold ring or something that I wanted to get back, right? Because then you got to be like shitting into a colander for a couple days.
Mine was a relatively large size 4-inch ham bone that I accidentally swallowed when I was devouring a ham, and it got stuck sideways.
Oh, shit.
4 inches, about an inch diameter. It had to be manually extracted.
That doesn't count as passing all the way through.
The doctor wouldn't do it. He had to hire somebody off the street to be able to reach up in there and pull the ham bone out. It was grotesque.
Reach up.
That's my story.
You say reach up in there, so I assume it's coming from the other end, the extraction. It wasn't lodged in your throat.
Yeah. No, that wasn't.
That'd be reaching down.
The question was, what is the largest granularity of something you've shat? Mine was a 4-inch by 1-inch diameter.
That was with assistance, though. I guess we'll count that.
So
the guy off the street came in and digging up in
This
there.
is an example of what can only be called an American hero.
The man on the street that pulled a ham bone out of your ass?
That's right.
Well,
he was a guitarist.
God bless him.
He wrote a song about it. You got to find that greasy ham bone. You've heard it, I'm sure.
I mean, that's a famous... Bob Dylan, I think, did that one?
No, I think it was Ravi Shankar.
Okay.
So I had a thought today.
Good job.
Oh, and you know what spawned it? Was as I was clicking through the channels looking for something to bide my time while the show I wanted started 6 or 7 minutes later, was I came upon the movie Yesterday. And I had hoped that since it was
we discussed that, I think.
Yes, that I would at least see the best song version he does of a Beatles tune in the whole movie when he stands in front of a crowd on a rooftop, very iconic relative to the famous Let It Be outdoor concert, which was their last event together. And he sang Help, and he did it with a punk rock speed to it and was in agony over his relationships and what he thought was his ill-gained fame, that it was an absolute drift into his pain. And they showed only one song, and that was it. And then they broke to his room, his prep room, in a whole nother scene with his love interest. But that version of Help is one of the best, certainly, that I've ever heard. And when I clicked on it, he was looking for the entrance to the rooftop, and his agent took him out the wrong door and then took him in the right door, and he did it. It was fabulous. And so it had me thinking about Beatles tunes and, the challenges we have now with the negative world that we live in, the environment of not only the health crisis and the economic crisis, but this crisis of leadership and this uncertainty of future and an inability for young people to be able to understand who they are in relationship to other people, which defines them when you're in grade school and high school. It's who you are in relationship to everyone in your environment, and how that's being replaced with remote, in many cases, virtual games, which are now in use to a greater degree than anybody would ever have dreamed, much to the delight of the companies that sell them, and understandable from a parent's perspective, because at least it's interactive and manipulative in terms of a connection between mind and fingers,
right?
And being able to spend time doing something that will generate some positive, kind of thoughtful, manipulative interaction. And at the end of the day, we'll never be the same. We'll never be the same.
Yeah, but that's true of every generation. Every generation has a new bit of technology that makes that generation never like the previous one.
Yes, but the degree of difference is different every era that you might compare. In some years, for example, during and after World War II, everything would hence be defined as pre-World War II and post-World War II. Same with World War I. And now, the same as this pandemic. There aren't that many events in our history that do that as an absolute, inarguable Templar placeholder upon which all things are gauged. There's not that many. Before or after the bomb could be a similar type of
9/11 was a pretty big shift as well.
Yes.
That's the biggest one in my lifetime until 2020. And man, like if you had told us, last year on episode 5 that 2020 was going to bring basically a 9/11 or World War II kind of shift to society, we would have just been like, what you talking about? But it has happened. And I mean, we thought back last year we would have said, yeah, well, the election of Donald Trump was the biggest change in a long time of breaking the world. But I think this is in the same way that in 2001 we thought George W. Bush sort of taking the election from Al Gore was a pretty despicable act. Right. But then he had his 9/11, and this is Donald Trump's 9/11.
Each year puts out prior years, perhaps in a different perspective. Because
and who knows
what you knew now, it wouldn't have seemed like such a big deal. The election of Trump wasn't such a big deal compared to what in the fuck it's turned out to be.
And who knows?
Never did we know.
In episode 150, what we're going to look back at episode 73 and be like, those naive knuckleheads back in 2020. They thought they were having
we have to open up. We have to find time within the negative day to feel hopeful for a minute, even though it's so much easier to be angry at what you're actually witnessing, seeing, and hearing. Yep. There are these commercials that you see in the U.S. that is breathe deeply for the next 30 seconds. And it shows rainwater in a forest, and the sound is just rain, and it counts down. That's a very smart thing. Or as the Beatles said, all you need is love. All you need is love.
Ba-dum.
All you need is love.
Love
is all you need.
Yeah, one of the features of the Apple Watch is that there's this app that will tell you a couple times a day to stop and breathe, which is an interesting idea. Personally, I almost never do it. Sometimes I have, but so at my work, we have a wellness coach. We have that every Wednesday leads us on a 30-minute meditation over Zoom. So we're all remote, and this woman tells us to like lie down or get comfortable or whatever, and then she walks us through this meditation practice. And it is cool. Like how many companies are so worried that you're
very, very thoughtful.
That you're like that. Oh, what do you mean you're taking 30 minutes off to go do something? Or why aren't you at your desk? Or let's reduce. And like, it's good to reduce the number of meetings. So many companies have so many meetings that just tie up so many people for so many hours of the day. But let's stop the entire fucking company for 30 minutes and just be peaceful and mindful and focus on our goals for the day, and then go off and do your work. It's very, very progressive, very thoughtful. Yeah.
Thoughtful,
mindful,
gracious, committed, smart, educated,
exactly,
evidence-based, responsive.
You're You're good with adjectives.
rewarding, efficient.
We've only done one so far, and I felt fucking great.
Yeah, well, your production will increase. This draws to a conclusion
Seize
because
the means
here's
production.
the deal, man. I got to piss so fucking bad. I'm like a fucking moose here. This happy hour without pissing for an hour is like
You're moose.
more than an old man can take.
You're moosing.
Hey.
Moose. Hey, does that
What
make me a
would
squirrel?
happy hour be? I see you're drinking little shot glasses of what do we have there? Irish whiskey, or are you sipping scotch?
It's scotch.
Scotch.
Not Irish.
Hey, I have a new addition. You know, I've been showing you the bottle every week.
That's a flask.
My wife said, so happy hour, huh? I said, yeah. She said, what are you drinking? I said, I'm having a beer. She said, huh? You gonna drink any scotch? I said, I don't know. Why? And she said, because you have a bottle upstairs in your office. And I said, no, I don't. I don't have a bottle of scotch in my office.
There you go.
I have a flask. Well,
If you have to ask, make it a flask. But
take
always
the
wear your
flask,
mask.
Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Take the flask, Jack. Don't you come back no more.
Carry your
That's
flask,
what I say.
wear your mask, and don't ask.
In your mask, you should hide a flask. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. In your mask. Hey, here we go.
It's a good task.
Moneymaker. You have a mask and hooked to a tube that goes to a belt, utility belt,
Mm-hmm.
and with a push of a button, you can suck through the mask, through the straw that's in your mouth, any liquor you want. 3 or 4 choices.
Or the
You
different
get
button. There's different
deluxe
buttons on
model, and the deluxe model, which is a little bigger, a little bulkier, has an ice pack in it, so you can include cold beer through the mask. Everybody would be so much nicer. So much nicer.
And they're not going to smell it on your breath, right? Because you got the
No.
mask on. It's disinfectant, man. We're killing germs.
Hey, check out on Showtime the latest 2 new episodes of the circus, the greatest political show on earth.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
The last 2.
It's a shame that.
Have you seen any of them?
It's a shame that our content subscriptions don't overlap. Like I talk about Netflix shows and
you don't have Showtime?
Apple shows, and I mean I can find Showtime shows, but I don't have a Showtime subscription.
A guy who can't get Netflix. Maybe I'll get it. I gotta go, man.
It's not that expensive.
So bad,
Go.
I can fucking taste it. It tastes salty, yellow, and warm.
Well,
All you
with
need
that
is love.
lovely image, we will bid adieu.
All you need is love.
Beep, beep.
All you need is love.
Love.
Love is all you need.
Okay, that does it for episode number 73 of Happy Hour with Dennis and Eric. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/073. And as always, we would love it if you could go over to patreon.com/happyhour and give us a couple bucks. That'll help us keep making this show as great as we can. And stay safe out there, guys. See you next week.